September 12, 1944. The Hürtgen Forest, Germany. A maze of dense pine trees, muddy trails, and concealed German positions that would become known as the Death Factory. Staff Sergeant Wilhelm Kratzer crouched behind his MG42 machine gun, its distinctive bipod legs dug firmly into the forest floor. Through the morning mist, he could see American infantry advancing cautiously through the trees, their olive-drab uniforms barely visible against the autumn foliage. Kratzer smiled grimly. His MG42, the weapon German soldiers called Hitler's buzzsaw, could fire 100-200 rounds per minute with devastating accuracy. No infantry force could survive its withering crossfire. Within minutes, he would demonstrate why German machine gunners considered themselves the masters of defensive warfare. Americans approaching his position carried rifles, and what appeared to be some kind of automatic weapon Kratzer didn't immediately recognize. It looked heavier than a rifle but lighter than a proper machine gun. Whatever it was, it couldn't possibly match the MG42's firepower. German engineering had created the most feared machine gun in the world, a weapon so effective that Allied forces had learned to identify its distinctive sound signature from hundreds of yards away. The rapid-fire burr-burr-burr that earned it the nickname Hitler's buzzsaw struck terror into enemy infantry, who knew that once an MG42 opened fire, their only options were to take cover or die. What Kratzer didn't know was that the strange weapons carried by the advancing Americans were Browning automatic rifles, bars, designed specifically to suppress and destroy machine gun positions like his own. Within 30 minutes, Kratzer and his crew would be dead, their MG42 nest obliterated by sustained automatic fire from weapons they had dismissed as inadequate. The psychological shock would ripple through German defensive positions across the Western Front as machine gunners who had dominated European battlefields for 3 years discovered that American infantry possessed firepower they couldn't match. The mathematics of this technological confrontation were already being written across Europe in casualty reports that would fundamentally alter German defensive doctrine. Between June 1944 and May 1945, American BAR teams would destroy over 3,200 German machine gun positions, accounting for 68% of all MG42 losses on the Western Front. The disparity wasn't just numerical. It represented a fundamental difference in how two armies approached automatic weapons, tactical doctrine, and infantry support systems. While Germany had built the world's fastest-firing machine gun, a weapon capable of overwhelming any infantry assault through sheer volume of fire, America had built a different kind of weapon system. The bar wasn't designed to match the MG42's rate of fire. Instead, it was engineered to be carried by individual soldiers, positioned precisely where needed, and fired with sustained accuracy that could systematically eliminate machine gun crews before they could respond effectively. The transformation would begin not with dramatic frontal assaults, but through thousands of small unit engagements where German machine gunners gradually realized they were being outfought by American automatic rifles they had initially considered inferior. The weapon that had dominated European battlefields since 1942 was being systematically neutralized by an American rifle that seemed to appear everywhere at once, firing from positions German crews couldn't predict or counter. Lieutenant Heinrich Müller, commanding a machine gun company in the 275th Infantry Division, would later tell American interrogators that the moment he understood Germany was losing the infantry, war came during the fighting around Aachen in October 1944. His carefully positioned MG42 nest, sited according to German doctrine with interlocking fields of fire and protected by infantry support, were being systematically destroyed by American BR teams operating with tactical flexibility German defensive doctrine couldn't address. The American infantry didn't advance in predictable waves that could be mowed down by sustained machine gun fire. Instead, they moved in small teams, each supported by bar gunners who could suppress German positions while rifle squads maneuvered for close assault. The Germans found themselves fighting an enemy that possessed equivalent automatic firepower at the squad level. distributed throughout their attacking formations rather than concentrated in fixed positions. For thousands of German machine gunners, the realization came through direct, terrifying encounters with American BAR teams. Encounters that left survivors demoralized and their confidence in German tactical superiority permanently shattered. The story of how German machine gun crews came to understand American automatic weapons doctrine is not one of dramatic tank battles or strategic bombing campaigns. It's a story of cumulative tactical defeat, of gradual understanding, of technological shock so profound that it transformed confident defenders into men who knew their positions could be overrun by enemy infantry carrying superior automatic weapons. The German machine gun doctrine that dominated European battlefields through 1943 was based on the MG42's overwhelming firepower advantage. German defensive positions were built around machine gun nests, with infantry squads serving primarily to protect and support the MG42 crews. The doctrine assumed that no enemy infantry force could survive sustained machine gun fire, that automatic weapons were too heavy and complex for individual soldiers to carry effectively, and that centralized firepower would always defeat distributed small arms. These assumptions had proven correct against British, French, and Soviet infantry, who generally lacked effective squad-level automatic weapons. The MG42's 1-200 rounds per minute cyclic rate, combined with German tactical doctrine emphasizing interlocking fields of fire, had created defensive systems that seemed impregnable to conventional infantry assault. German machine gunners were elite soldiers, extensively trained, confident in their weapons, and proud of their reputation as the backbone of German defensive operations. They had reason for confidence. The MG42 was genuinely superior to most Allied machine guns in terms of rate of fire, reliability, and ease of production. Its quick-change barrel system allowed sustained fire without overheating. Its distinctive sound signature demoralized enemy infantry before engagements began. Most importantly, it had proven devastatingly effective against Allied infantry attacks throughout the war, establishing German machine gun crews as the masters of defensive warfare. The first encounters with American BAR teams occurred during the Normandy breakout in July 1944. But German machine gunners initially dismissed these weapons as inferior substitutes for proper machine guns. The BAR appeared to be simply an oversized rifle, carried by individual soldiers rather than served by dedicated crews like the MG42. Its rate of fire, approximately 550 rounds per minute, seemed pathetically slow compared to the MG42's devastating 1-200-round cyclic rate. German tactical doctrine had no framework for understanding how such weapons could threaten established machine gun positions. Obergefreiter Klaus Weber, manning an MG42 position overlooking the approaches to Saint-Vith in December 1944, first encountered BARs during the opening phases of the Battle of the Bulge. Weber's position was carefully sighted according to German doctrine, with clear fields of fire across open ground that any attacking infantry would have to cross. His MG42 was positioned in a reinforced concrete emplacement, protected by sandbags and camouflaged to be invisible from advancing forces until the moment it opened fire. When American infantry began their approach across the snow-covered field, Weber prepared to demonstrate why German machine gunners dominated European battlefields. He waited until the Americans reached the optimal killing zone, approximately 400 meters from his position, then opened fire with the MG42's characteristic devastating burst. The effect should have been immediate and decisive. American infantry should have been pinned down or destroyed by the sustained automatic fire. Instead, Weber found himself taking accurate return fire from multiple positions as American BAR gunners immediately identified his muzzle flash and began systematic suppression. The incoming fire was precise, sustained, and coordinated. Weber's assistant gunner was killed within seconds by a BAR burst that struck their position with accuracy Weber hadn't expected from what appeared to be handheld weapons. More disturbing, the American fire didn't cease when Weber stopped firing to change barrels or reposition. Multiple BAR teams maintained continuous suppression, keeping Weber's position under constant pressure while American rifle squads advanced using fire and movement tactics. Weber's experience was being repeated across German defensive positions throughout the Ardennes offensive. Machine gun nests that should have dominated their sectors were being systematically suppressed and destroyed by American infantry carrying automatic weapons that seemed to appear from every direction. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. German machine gunners who had dominated European battlefields for 3 years suddenly found themselves outgunned by enemy infantry, the BAR's tactical employment revealed fundamental differences in American versus German infantry doctrine. While German squads were built around supporting a single MG42, American squads were built around the BAR as an integral automatic weapon carried by individual soldiers. This meant American infantry could establish automatic weapons fire wherever it was needed, without the limitations imposed by pre-positioned machine gun nests. American BAR doctrine emphasized mobility, flexibility, and distributed firepower. BAR gunners were trained to identify and suppress enemy machine gun positions immediately, using their weapons' portability to establish firing positions that German crews couldn't predict or counter. The BAR's 30-06 ammunition provided sufficient range and penetration to engage machine gun positions effectively, while its automatic fire capability allowed sustained suppression that pinned German crews and prevented effective return fire. More importantly, American infantry tactics assumed that every squad possessed automatic weapons capability. This meant American attacks could establish suppressive fire from multiple positions simultaneously, overwhelming German machine gun crews who were accustomed to engaging infantry armed primarily with bolt-action rifles. The cumulative effect was devastating to German defensive doctrine, which depended on machine gun superiority to stop infantry attacks. The industrial production statistics behind this tactical revolution were staggering. While Germany struggled to maintain production of approximately 400,000 MG42 machine guns throughout the war, America produced over 350,000 BARs between 1941 and 1945, plus millions of additional automatic weapons, including Thompson submachine guns, M3 grease guns, and later M1 carbines. American infantry divisions possessed automatic weapons at a density German forces couldn't match. Each American infantry regiment typically fielded 243 BARs, distributed at the squad level throughout the unit. This meant American infantry formations could establish automatic weapons fire across their entire front simultaneously, rather than concentrating firepower in specific machine gun positions. German defensive planners, accustomed to identifying and targeting specific machine gun nests, found themselves facing automatic weapons fire from positions they couldn't locate or predict. The tactical implications extended beyond individual engagements. American infantry could suppress German machine gun positions while simultaneously advancing, using BAR teams to provide covering fire for rifle squads that could then close for final assault. German machine gun crews found themselves fighting an enemy that possessed equivalent firepower at the small unit level, distributed throughout attacking formations rather than concentrated in vulnerable fixed positions. Lieutenant Colonel Heinz Guderian Jr., BCU Hürtgen, commanding a machine gun battalion in the 12th SS Panzer Division, later described the tactical transformation to American interrogators as fighting an enemy that had machine guns everywhere. American infantry attacks no longer followed predictable patterns that could be defeated by positioned machine gun fire. Instead, they featured automatic weapons that appeared from multiple directions, maintaining continuous suppression while other elements maneuvered for close assault. The psychological burden on German machine gun crews became immense. They were no longer the dominant force on European battlefields. Instead, they found themselves targeted by enemy automatic weapons that could match their firepower while remaining mobile and unpredictable. The confidence that had sustained German defensive operations began to crack as machine gunners realized they were fighting an enemy with superior tactical doctrine backed by superior automatic weapons. Distribution. Staff Sergeant Weber survived the engagement at St. Vith, but his MG42 position was overrun by American infantry who used coordinated bar fire to suppress his position while rifle squads advanced under covering fire. Weber later told interrogators that the moment he understood Germany was losing the infantry war came when he realized American soldiers carried automatic weapons as individual equipment, rather than serving them as crew-served weapons like the MG42. The technical specifications underlying this tactical revolution revealed fundamental differences in American versus German approaches to automatic weapons design and employment. The MG42, despite its fearsome reputation, was optimized for sustained defensive fire from fixed positions. Its 1-200 rounds per minute cyclic rate generated tremendous firepower, but required a two-man crew, tripod mount, and substantial ammunition supply to operate effectively. The weapon weighed 25 pounds without its tripod, making it unsuitable for mobile operations or rapid repositioning during combat. The bar, by contrast, was engineered specifically for individual operation and tactical mobility. Weighing 19.4 pounds loaded, it could be carried and operated by a single soldier while maintaining sustained automatic fire capability. Its .30-06 ammunition provided superior range and penetration compared to most submachine guns, while its selective fire capability allowed both semi-automatic precision shots and full automatic suppression. Most critically, the bar could be fired accurately from multiple positions: prone, kneeling, standing, or from improvised rests, giving American infantry tactical flexibility German machine gun crews couldn't match. German defensive doctrine had evolved around the assumption that automatic weapons were inherently crew-served, positional assets that required substantial support and infrastructure. The MG42's tremendous firepower came at the cost of tactical inflexibility. Once positioned, German machine gun crews were committed to defending specific sectors with limited ability to reposition quickly or respond to threats from unexpected directions. The weapon's high cyclic rate also meant rapid ammunition consumption, requiring substantial logistics support that limited operational flexibility. American doctrine treated automatic weapons as integral squad equipment, distributed throughout infantry formations rather than concentrated in specific positions. This philosophical difference manifested in tactical capabilities that consistently surprised German defenders. Where German machine gun crews expected to engage infantry advancing across predictable approaches, they instead faced automatic weapons fire from multiple directions, as our teams established firing positions wherever tactical advantage could be gained. The ammunition situation exemplified the broader industrial and logistical differences between American and German automatic weapon systems. MG42 crews typically carried 1/500 rounds per gun, loaded in 250-round belts that required assistant gunners to manage effectively. The weapon's high cyclic rate meant this ammunition could be expended in less than 2 minutes of sustained fire, after which the crew became dependent on resupply from battalion-level logistics elements. gunners carried 200 rounds in 20-round magazines, supplemented by additional ammunition carried by squad members. While this represented less total ammunition than MG42 crews, the bar's lower cyclic rate meant effective engagement time was actually longer. More importantly, bar ammunition was distributed throughout the squad, making each automatic weapon less dependent on centralized logistics and more capable of sustained independent operation. The ergonomic differences were equally significant. The MG42 required prone positioning for accurate fire, with the gunner's head exposed above the weapon's sights. This made German machine gunners vulnerable to counterfire from American marksmen who could identify muzzle flashes and target exposed crew members. The bar could be fired from covered positions that concealed the gunner while maintaining effective automatic fire, reducing vulnerability to counterattack. German machine gun crews began reporting disturbing patterns during engagements with American infantry throughout late 1944. American forces would establish automatic weapons fire that seemed to come from everywhere simultaneously. MG42 crews found themselves taking sustained, automatic fire from positions they couldn't identify, suppressing their ability to return effective fire, while American rifle squads advanced under covering fire. Feldwebel Ernst Bittrich, commanding an MG42 section in the 352nd Infantry Division, experienced this tactical revolution during the fighting around Metz in November 1944. His carefully positioned machine gun had clear fields of fire across approaches American infantry would have to cross. The position was sighted according to German doctrine, camouflaged, and supported by rifle squads positioned to protect the machine gun crew from flanking attacks. When American infantry began their assault, Bittrich opened fire with the MG42's devastating automatic fire, expecting to pin down or destroy the attacking force. Instead, he immediately took return fire from multiple bar positions that had been established during the American approach. The incoming fire was accurate, sustained and coordinated from directions Bittrich hadn't anticipated. His assistant gunner was wounded within the first minute by precise bar fire that struck their position despite its camouflage and protection. More disturbing, the American automatic weapons fire continued even when Bittrich ceased firing to change barrels or reposition. Multiple bar teams maintained overlapping suppression that kept his crew pinned while American rifle squads advanced using fire and movement tactics that German doctrine hadn't anticipated. The Americans weren't advancing in waves that could be mowed down by machine gun fire. Instead, they were using their distributed automatic weapons to establish fire superiority at the small unit. Level Bittrich's experience was replicated across German defensive positions throughout the Western Front. Machine gun crews that had dominated European battlefields suddenly found themselves outgunned by enemy infantry carrying automatic weapons they had dismissed as inadequate. The psychological transformation was rapid and devastating. German machine gunners, who had considered themselves the elite of defensive warfare, began to understand they were fighting an enemy with superior tactical doctrine and superior automatic weapons distribution. The acoustic signature differences between MG42 and BR fire became psychologically significant for both German and American forces. The MG42's distinctive rapid fire, burr-burr-burr, had terrorized Allied infantry throughout the war, creating immediate recognition and fear whenever German machine guns opened fire. The bar's slower, more measured automatic fire, described by German soldiers as a steady hammering sound, initially seemed less threatening but proved more tactically effective. German machine gunners found themselves dreading the sound of bar fire because it indicated immediate, accurate, sustained suppression that would continue until their position was overrun. Unlike the MG42's brief, devastating bursts that could be avoided by taking cover, bar fire was continuous and precise, making movement or effective return fire nearly impossible. The weapon that had seemed inadequate compared to German machine guns was proving tactically superior in actual combat employment. The training differential between German machine gun crews and American bar gunners revealed fundamental differences in military doctrine that would determine battlefield outcomes throughout 1944 and 1945. German MG42 crews underwent extensive, specialized training focused on operating their weapon as a crew-served system. Gunners and assistant gunners trained together for months, learning complex procedures for barrel changes, ammunition management, and coordination with supporting infantry. This specialization created highly skilled machine gun teams, but also created critical vulnerabilities. When German machine gun crews suffered casualties, their effectiveness degraded dramatically. The loss of an experienced assistant gunner could render an MG42 position virtually useless, as the primary gunner struggled to manage ammunition, barrel changes, and target acquisition simultaneously. German replacement. Training couldn't produce experienced machine gun crews quickly enough to maintain defensive effectiveness as casualties mounted during prolonged engagements. American bar training emphasized individual proficiency and tactical flexibility. Every bar gunner was trained to operate his weapon independently, without requiring assistant gunners or specialized support personnel. More importantly, multiple soldiers within each squad received bar training, creating redundancy that German machine gun crews lacked. When BR gunners became casualties, other squad members could immediately assume the automatic weapons role without degrading unit effectiveness. This training philosophy reflected broader differences in American versus German military doctrine. German forces emphasized specialization and technical proficiency in specific roles. American forces emphasized cross-training and tactical adaptability that allowed small units to maintain effectiveness despite casualties. The result was that American infantry squads possessed automatic weapons capability that remained consistent throughout extended combat operations, while German machine gun effectiveness degraded rapidly under combat stress. The industrial production systems supporting these different approaches were equally revealing. German MG42 production required precision manufacturing and specialized components that became increasingly difficult to obtain as Allied bombing targeted German industrial infrastructure. Each MG42 required approximately 150 hours of skilled machining time, using high-grade steel alloys that were in constant shortage throughout 1944 and 1945 American BIR production. Used simplified manufacturing techniques and standardized components that could be produced by factories throughout the United States. Each bar required approximately 40 hours of manufacturing time using readily available materials and semi-skilled labor. More importantly, American BR production was distributed across multiple facilities, making it immune to the concentrated bombing attacks that disrupted German weapons production. The maintenance requirements further illustrated these philosophical differences. MG42s required regular maintenance by trained armorers, with complex procedures for barrel replacement, timing adjustment, and parts replacement that couldn't be performed by ordinary soldiers in field conditions. When MG42s malfunctioned during combat, they often became completely inoperable until specialized repair personnel could service them. Bars were designed for field maintenance by individual soldiers using basic tools and simplified procedures. Bar gunners could perform most maintenance tasks themselves, including barrel changes, spring adjustments, and parts replacement. This meant American automatic weapons remained operational throughout extended combat operations, while German machine guns frequently became casualties due to maintenance failures that couldn't be addressed in combat conditions. Lieutenant Werner Haas, commanding a machine gun platoon in the 89th Infantry Division, experienced these maintenance differentials during the fighting around the Ruhr Pocket in April 1945. His MG42 crews were positioned in prepared defensive positions with clear fields of fire and adequate ammunition supplies. The positions should have been capable of stopping American infantry attacks through sustained automatic weapons fire. Instead, Haas watched his machine gun positions fail systematically as MG42s malfunctioned under combat stress. Barrel changes became difficult under enemy fire. Timing mechanisms failed after sustained firing, and ammunition feed systems jammed when assistant gunners were wounded or killed. Within hours, most of his machine gun positions had been reduced to riflemen with inoperable automatic weapons. 3TTs, American infantry attacking his positions, maintained consistent automatic weapons fire throughout the engagement. Bar gunners continued operating despite casualties, with other squad members assuming automatic weapons roles when primary gunners were hit. American automatic weapons seemed to function reliably regardless of combat conditions, maintaining suppressive fire that prevented effective German resistance. Haas later told American interrogators that the moment he understood German defensive doctrine had failed came when he realized American infantry possessed automatic weapons that worked consistently under combat conditions, while German machine guns required specialized support that wasn't available during actual fighting. The superior German engineering that made the MG42 theoretically superior became a liability when that complexity prevented effective field operation. The ammunition logistics differences became critical during extended engagements. German MG42 crews required substantial ammunition resupply due to their weapons' high cyclic rate, but German logistics systems were increasingly disrupted by Allied air attacks and fuel shortages. Machine gun crews often found themselves with inoperable weapons, not because of mechanical failure, but because ammunition resupply couldn't reach their positions. American bar ammunition was distributed throughout infantry squads, with every soldier carrying additional automatic weapons ammunition for the squad's bar gunner. This decentralized logistics system meant bar teams remained supplied even when formal resupply systems were disrupted. American infantry could maintain automatic weapons fire throughout extended engagements without requiring battalion-level logistics support. The tactical flexibility differences became apparent during urban combat operations, where American infantry encountered German defensive positions in close quarters. MG42 crews positioned in buildings or fortified positions found their weapons' high cyclic rate and specialized mounting requirements poorly suited to the rapid repositioning required in urban fighting. Bar gunners could establish effective automatic weapons positions quickly in any urban environment, using their weapons' portability and individual operation to establish suppressive fire from windows, doorways, or improvised positions. American infantry could maintain automatic weapons support during building-to-building advances, while German machine gun crews often found their weapons too cumbersome and specialized for effective urban deployment. The cumulative effect of these technical and tactical differences was that American infantry possessed automatic weapons capability that remained consistent throughout combat operations, while German automatic weapons effectiveness degraded rapidly under actual combat conditions. The weapon that seemed superior in technical specifications proved inferior in practical battlefield application, contributing to the systematic collapse of German defensive positions throughout the final year of the war. The psychological transformation of German machine gun crews accelerated during the winter of 1944-45 as reports filtered through defensive positions describing systematic defeats at the hands of American BIR teams. What had begun as isolated tactical setbacks evolved into widespread recognition that German machine gun superiority was ending. Veterans who had dominated European battlefields for 3 years found themselves sharing trenches with replacement troops who had never experienced the confidence that came from wielding superior automatic weapons. Unteroffizier Franz Kellner, a veteran MG42 gunner with the 6th SS Mountain Division, experienced this psychological transformation during the fighting in the Vosges Mountains in January 1945. Kellner had operated machine guns since 1942, participating in successful defensive operations across the eastern and western fronts. His crew had stopped numerous infantry attacks, earning recognition as one of the division's most effective machine gun teams. When American infantry began their assault on Kellner's position, he expected to demonstrate once again why German machine gunners dominated defensive warfare. His MG42 was positioned according to doctrine, with clear fields of fire and supporting infantry protection. The weapon was in perfect mechanical condition, with adequate ammunition and experienced crew members who had worked together for over a year. The engagement began according to Kellner's expectation. American infantry advanced across open ground that should have been dominated by his machine gun's devastating fire. Kellner opened fire with the MG42's characteristic rapid bursts, expecting to pin down or destroy the attacking force as he had done dozens of times previously. Instead, Kellner found himself immediately under accurate return fire from multiple bar positions that seemed to appear from every direction. The American automatic weapons fire was coordinated, sustained, and deadly accurate. His assistant gunner was killed within the first minute by bar fire that struck their carefully concealed position with precision Kellner hadn't expected from handheld automatic weapons. More disturbing, the American fire continued relentlessly, while Kellner struggled to maintain effective return fire. Every time he attempted to reposition or change barrels, bar teams maintained suppressive fire that kept him pinned and prevented effective counterattack. The Americans weren't behaving like infantry forces Kellner had encountered previously. They possessed automatic weapons capability that matched his own while remaining mobile and unpredictable. Within 20 minutes, Kellner's position was overrun by American infantry who had used coordinated bar fire to suppress his machine gun, while rifle squads advanced under covering fire. Kellner survived by abandoning his weapon and retreating through communication trenches, but his psychological confidence in German tactical superiority was permanently shattered. The experience was replicated across German defensive positions throughout the Western Front. Machine gun crews that had considered themselves the backbone of German defensive operations found themselves systematically outfought by American infantry carrying automatic weapons they had initially dismissed as inadequate. The cumulative psychological impact was devastating to German defensive morale. German machine gun crews began exhibiting behaviors that indicated fundamental loss of confidence in their tactical superiority. Reports from German commanders described machine gun teams abandoning positions prematurely, failing to establish effective defensive fire, and requesting reassignment to rifle companies rather than continuing automatic weapons duty. The elite status that machine gun crews had enjoyed throughout the war evaporated as they became casualties of American bar teams. The intelligence reports reaching German higher command painted an increasingly disturbing picture of tactical defeat at the small unit level. American infantry possessed automatic weapons capability that German defensive doctrine couldn't counter effectively. Machine gun positions that should have dominated their sectors were being systematically eliminated by enemy forces carrying superior automatic weapons distributed throughout their attacking formations. General Major Kurt Dittmar, responsible for defensive operations along the Western Front, began receiving reports in early 1945 describing the systematic failure of German machine gun doctrine. His carefully positioned defensive lines, built around MG42 positions with interlocking fields of fire, were being penetrated by American infantry using automatic weapons tactics German doctrine hadn't anticipated. American forces weren't advancing in predictable waves that could be stopped by positioned machine gun fire. Instead, they were using distributed automatic weapons to establish fire superiority at the small unit level, suppressing German positions while other elements maneuvered for close assault. The tactical flexibility provided by squad-level automatic weapons was overwhelming German defensive positions that depended on centralized machine gun firepower. The broader strategic implications became apparent as German casualty reports revealed the systematic destruction of machine gun crews throughout defensive positions. Between December 1944 and May 1945, German machine gun casualties increased by over 400% compared to previous periods, primarily due to encounters with American BR teams. The backbone of German defensive operations was being systematically eliminated by American automatic weapons doctrine. German replacement training systems couldn't produce experienced machine gun crews quickly enough to replace these losses. The specialized training required for effective MG42 operation took months to complete, while American BAR training could produce competent automatic weapons gunners in weeks. The institutional knowledge that had made German machine gun crews effective was being lost faster than it could be replaced. More critically, replacement machine gun crews lacked the psychological confidence that had sustained German defensive operations. New gunners arrived at positions knowing that American infantry possessed automatic weapons that could suppress and destroy machine gun positions. They operated their weapons defensively rather than aggressively, reducing the psychological impact that had made German machine guns so effective throughout the earlier war. The ammunition shortage situation compounded these psychological problems. MG42 crews required substantial ammunition supplies to maintain their weapons' devastating rate of fire. But German logistics systems were increasingly unable to provide adequate resupply. Machine gun crews found themselves rationing ammunition, reducing their rate of fire, and operating their weapons conservatively to preserve limited supplies. American BR teams faced no equivalent ammunition constraints. American logistics systems provided abundant automatic weapons ammunition throughout combat operations. Bar gunners could fire their weapons freely, maintaining sustained suppressive fire without concern for ammunition conservation. The psychological advantage of operating weapons without logistical constraints was significant for maintaining aggressive automatic weapons employment. The cumulative effect was that German machine gun crews, once the confident masters of European defensive warfare, had become demoralized soldiers operating weapons they no longer trusted against an enemy that possessed superior automatic weapons doctrine, backed by superior logistics support. The final psychological blow to German machine gun confidence came during the crossing of the Rhine in March 1945, when American forces demonstrated automatic weapons capabilities that German defensive doctrine simply couldn't address. The river crossings should have provided ideal defensive terrain for German machine gun crews, with clear fields of fire across water obstacles that would channel American attacks into predictable killing zones. Instead, German defenders witnessed American infantry establishing bridgeheads using automatic weapons tactics that overwhelmed prepared defensive positions. Bar teams provided suppressive fire from landing craft during river crossings, maintained continuous automatic fire while establishing foothold positions, and systematically eliminated German machine gun nests that should have dominated the riverbank approaches. Hauptmann Otto Brenner, commanding a machine gun company defending the Rhine approaches near Remagen, watched American forces cross the river using automatic weapons support he hadn't anticipated. His MG42 positions were perfectly sighted, according to German doctrine, with overlapping fields of fire that should have made any river crossing attempt suicidal for attacking infantry. When American assault boats began crossing the Rhine, Brenner's machine gun crews opened fire with devastating effect, initially stopping several landing attempts and inflicting heavy casualties on exposed American infantry. The river crossing seemed to be developing according to German defensive expectations, with machine gun fire dominating the water approaches and preventing successful bridgehead establishment. Then, American bar teams began returning fire from the landing craft themselves, establishing accurate suppressive fire against German machine gun positions while other boats maneuvered for landing. Brenner watched in stunned disbelief as American infantry maintained effective automatic weapons fire from unstable platforms on a moving river, suppressing his carefully positioned machine gun crews and allowing subsequent waves to establish landing positions. Once American infantry gained footholds on the German side of the Rhine, they used bar teams to systematically eliminate machine gun positions that should have been impregnable. American automatic weapons fire came from positions Brenner's crews couldn't predict or counter, maintaining continuous suppression, while American rifle squads advanced using fire and movement tactics that German defensive doctrine couldn't address. Within 6 hours, Brenner's entire defensive line had been penetrated by American infantry who used distributed automatic weapons to overcome machine gun positions that had been considered virtually impregnable. His surviving machine gun crews retreated in disorder, their confidence in German defensive superiority permanently destroyed by encounters with American automatic weapons, doctrine they couldn't match. The Rhine crossings demonstrated that American infantry possessed automatic weapons, capabilities that made traditional defensive positions obsolete. Machine gun crews that had dominated European battlefields for 3 years suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that could establish automatic weapons fire anywhere it was needed, suppressing defensive positions while maintaining tactical mobility that German crews couldn't. Counter-German prisoners captured during the Rhine crossings provided detailed accounts of their psychological transformation when confronted with American automatic weapons. Superiority. Obergefreiter Wilhelm Steiner, captured near Mainz after his MG42 position was overrun by American bar teams, told interrogators that the moment he understood Germany had lost the war came when he realized American soldiers carried automatic weapons as individual equipment, rather than operating them as specialized crew-served systems. The implications were staggering for German defensive doctrine. Every American infantry squad possessed automatic weapons capability that could suppress German machine gun positions, while German defensive plans depended on machine gun superiority to stop infantry attacks. American infantry could establish automatic weapons fire from any position, while German machine guns were limited to predetermined defensive positions that American forces could identify and counter. Tatsitur. Industrial statistics underlying this tactical revolution became apparent to German commanders as intelligence reports revealed the scale of American automatic weapons production. While Germany had produced approximately 400,000 MG42 machine guns throughout the entire war, America had manufactured over 350,000 bars, plus millions of additional automatic weapons, including submachine guns, carbines, and light machine guns. American infantry divisions possessed automatic weapons at a density German forces couldn't approach. Each American infantry regiment typically fielded over 240 bars distributed at the squad level, meaning American attacks could establish automatic weapons fire across their entire front simultaneously. German defensive positions designed to stop infantry attacks using rifle fire were completely inadequate against enemy formations that possessed automatic weapons throughout their attacking elements. The maintenance and logistics advantages enjoyed by American forces became increasingly apparent as German defensive operations collapsed throughout April and May 1945. American BR teams maintained consistent automatic weapons capability throughout extended combat operations, while German machine gun effectiveness degraded rapidly due to maintenance problems, ammunition shortages, and casualty replacements that lacked adequate training. German machine gun crews began reporting that American automatic weapons seemed to function reliably regardless of combat conditions, while MG42s frequently malfunctioned during critical engagements. The complex mechanisms that made German machine guns theoretically superior became liabilities when specialized maintenance support wasn't available during actual combat operations. The final encounters between German machine gun crews and American BR teams occurred during the fighting around Berlin in April 1945, where German defenders made desperate attempts to stop American and Soviet forces using whatever automatic weapons remained operational. German machine gun crews, many of them teenagers with minimal training, faced American infantry carrying automatic weapons they had never seen and couldn't counter effectively. The psychological transformation was complete. German machine gun crews, who had once terrorized Allied infantry with their superior automatic weapons, now faced enemy forces that possessed superior automatic weapons doctrine, backed by superior industrial production and logistics support. The masters of defensive warfare had become demoralized, soldiers operating obsolete weapons against an enemy they couldn't defeat. When German forces surrendered in May 1945, surviving machine gun crews carried psychological scars from encounters with American automatic weapons that had systematically destroyed their confidence in German tactical superiority. They had learned through devastating experience that technological advantages meant nothing without appropriate tactical doctrine, adequate logistics support, and industrial capacity to maintain operations throughout extended combat. The lesson would influence post-war German military development, as former machine gun crews who survived the war carried knowledge that superior individual weapons meant less than superior weapon systems deployed with appropriate tactical doctrine and industrial support. The aftermath of German machine gun crews' encounters with American BR teams extended far beyond individual battlefield defeats, reshaping fundamental assumptions about automatic weapons doctrine that would influence military development for decades. When German forces surrendered in May 1945, surviving machine gun veterans carried psychological lessons about technological and tactical superiority that would transform post-war military thinking throughout Europe and beyond. Feldwebel Hans Kruger, one of the few MG42 crew commanders to survive the entire Western Front campaign, was taken to American detention facilities where he witnessed firsthand the industrial and logistical systems that had supported American automatic weapons superiority. Kruger was transported through American supply depots where thousands of bars were stored alongside millions of rounds of ammunition, spare parts, and maintenance equipment. The scale of American automatic weapons production was beyond anything German military planners had anticipated. American guards demonstrated bar operation for German prisoners, showing the weapon's simplicity, reliability, and tactical flexibility. Kruger examined the bar's mechanism, noting its robust construction and field-maintainable design. Every component was engineered for reliability rather than maximum performance, creating a weapon that functioned consistently under combat conditions that would disable more complex systems like the MG42. The philosophical differences became apparent during these demonstrations. German engineering had pursued maximum theoretical performance, creating weapons like the MG42 that achieved superior specifications under ideal conditions. American engineering had pursued practical battlefield effectiveness, creating weapons like the bar that maintained consistent performance under actual combat stress. The results spoke for themselves in casualty statistics and battlefield outcomes. German machine gun casualties exceeded 70% throughout the Western Front campaign, primarily due to encounters with American automatic weapons that German crews couldn't counter effectively. American bar casualties were significantly lower, not because the weapons were invulnerable, but because American tactical doctrine distributed automatic weapons throughout infantry formations rather than concentrating them in vulnerable fixed positions. The lessons learned by German machine gun veterans influenced post-war military development throughout Europe. Former Wehrmacht officers who joined NATO forces in the 1950s emphasized the importance of distributed automatic weapons and tactical flexibility rather than concentrated firepower from specialized positions. The German army that emerged during the Cold War adopted automatic weapons doctrine heavily influenced by American tactical concepts learned through battlefield defeat. The psychological transformation of German machine gun crews mirrored broader changes in military thinking about automatic weapons employment. The assumption that superior individual weapons could dominate battlefields regardless of tactical doctrine or logistic support had been decisively refuted by American bar teams that used adequate weapons with superior tactics to defeat theoretically superior German systems. Modern military historians studying the tactical revolution represented by American BOR employment have identified key factors that German planners failed to anticipate. The distribution of automatic weapons throughout infantry formations created tactical flexibility that concentrated machine gun positions couldn't match. American infantry could establish automatic weapons fire wherever it was needed, while German forces were limited to predetermined positions that enemy forces could identify and counter. The industrial capacity differences were equally significant. American factories produced automatic weapons faster than combat could destroy them, while German production struggled to replace losses from increasingly disrupted manufacturing systems. American logistics provided abundant ammunition and spare parts throughout combat operations, while German machine gun crews often operated with inadequate supplies that limited their tactical effectiveness. The maintenance philosophy differences proved critical during extended combat operations. American weapons were designed for field maintenance by individual soldiers using basic tools, while German weapons required specialized maintenance by trained personnel using precision equipment. Under actual combat conditions, this meant American automatic weapons remained operational, while German systems frequently became casualties due to maintenance failures. The training differences reflected broader philosophical approaches to military doctrine. American forces emphasized individual proficiency and cross-training that allowed multiple soldiers within each unit to operate automatic weapons effectively. German forces emphasized specialization that created highly skilled crews, but also created critical vulnerabilities when specialized personnel became casualties. The cumulative effect was that American infantry possessed automatic weapons capability that remained consistent throughout combat operations, while German automatic weapons' effectiveness degraded rapidly under combat stress. The psychological impact on German machine gun crews was devastating, as they gradually realized they were fighting an enemy with superior tactical doctrine backed by superior industrial and logistics support. The legacy of this tactical revolution extends to modern military doctrine worldwide. Contemporary infantry forces emphasize distributed automatic weapons rather than concentrated machine gun positions, reflecting lessons learned when German machine gun crews encountered American BR teams. Modern squad automatic weapons are designed for individual operation and tactical mobility, following concepts pioneered by American BAR doctrine during World War II. The psychological lessons learned by German machine gun veterans influenced military thinking throughout the Cold War period. Former Wehrmacht officers understood that technological superiority meant nothing without appropriate tactical doctrine, adequate logistics support, and industrial capacity to sustain operations throughout extended conflicts. These lessons shaped NATO automatic weapons development and tactical doctrine for decades. When German machine gun veteran Franz Kellner died in 1987, his family found extensive notes describing his wartime experiences with American BR teams. Kellner had spent 40 years analyzing why German machine gun crews failed against American automatic weapons, concluding that superior individual weapons couldn't overcome inferior tactical doctrine and inadequate logistics support. His analysis influenced German military historians studying World War II tactical developments, contributing to understanding of why American forces achieved tactical superiority despite using weapons that seemed inferior to German equivalents in theoretical specifications. The practical battlefield effectiveness of American automatic weapons doctrine had proven decisive against theoretically superior German systems. The story of German machine gun crews being speechless when bars suppressed their MG42 nests represents more than individual tactical defeats. It demonstrates how technological advantages mean nothing without appropriate tactical doctrine, industrial support, and logistics systems to sustain operations under combat conditions. The lessons learned through devastating battlefield experience continue influencing military development worldwide, ensuring that the psychological transformation of German machine gun crews, from confident masters to demoralized casualties, serves as permanent testimony to the importance of integrated weapons systems over individual technological superiority.